सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावतीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। akiñcanabhavaṃ svāsthyaṃ kaupīnatve'pi durlabham tyāgādāne vihāyāsmādahamāse yathāsukham. The tranquility which is born of the awareness that there is nothing else but the self is rare even for the one who just wears a lion cloth. Therefore, giving up the ideas of renunciation or acceptance, I live in true happiness. We'll go through the first paragraph of Acharya's commentary. Even for one who has renounced everything and has only the barest minimum of even his essential requirements of life, such as food, clothing and shelter, even to such an individual, the experience that there is nothing but the self, akiñcanabhavaṃ, and therefore nothing else have ever been born as the universe, this bhava is indeed rare. To renounce or to accept, there must be still the lingering shades of one's individualized ego. When the ego has completely ended, there is none in the individual either to accept anything or to renounce anything. And that is the state of supreme bliss. Therefore, says Janaka, giving up the ideas of renunciation and acceptance, I live in true happiness. We will visualize, you may glide along as he proceeds. We will visualize or contemplate on two scenarios. The first is the scenario of a normal jiva who is still very much in the world, in the samsara. And then after having gone through this, we will validate this verse with the one who has transcended this creation. Let us think of a normal jiva with reference to today's verse. If the conviction that only this self is akiñcanabhavaṃ, nothing else is there ever. If suppose this conviction is not there, then what happens to such a jiva? When creation or the world of beings puts him to suffering, or his vasanas, his desires make him restless, then referring to the lion clock in this verse, even suppose he has left the world and taken to recluse and lives in Himalayas, what will happen to such a jiva then? We can validate this to our own life, if and how much extent this is true for us. Even if the family is renounced, all luxuries are renounced, and he lives in some kutir in Uttarkashi, he may not get that 100% tranquility all the times. The simplest possible life a jiva can lead, given in this verse, is just existing with a lion cloth, with the kaupīnatve'pi. If anyone, after all the problems faced, after all the sufferings he has undergone, gets frustrated in the life and then he decides to leave the world and live alone, and he goes to the Himalayas and lives there as per this verse with the minimum requirement, but not with the conviction that only self is, or in easier terms, only God is. Then instead of tranquility, there might be more frustration, more disillusionment for him. Because when you do not abide in self, or when you do not stay immersed in God, your mind is active. And when your mind is active, the thoughts run fast. And the whole day, you look for some or the other activity, some or the other thing to keep you engaged, even in Himalayas. You may have a nap for some time. Of course, you may sleep at the night if you have a peaceful night. But then how about the day? How you're going to spend over there, leaving everyone in the world? But keeping your thoughts alive, keeping your desires alive, keeping your vasanas alive, how such life will be? As there is no activity perhaps or minimum possible activity over there, there is nothing to keep yourself engaged over there. There is no diversion possible there to forget your past miseries, because you are not abiding in self. Life would perhaps be more worst there, even as compared to if you are living in wherever you were before leaving the world and going over there. How much this is valid for us? No matter where we are, whether we are in Muscat, whether we are in India, whether we are elsewhere, how much this visualization applicable to Jiva is applicable to us, we have to think. That is, with the spiritual path going on one side, or for few these sessions are all on another side, whether we are wholly immersed, okay, here it refers to akiñcanabhavaṃ, nothing else is there but then other than self or other than God. How much conviction is there in this statement? How much we are living in this statement, not as a statement in finite language, but in our life, how much we are living thus. And how much we are not able to. And if we are not able to, then what is the degree of restlessness we are going throughout the day? Where all our thoughts are running throughout the day? We have to think. And now, let us go to the other side of the one who lives, who exists, who breathes with this akiñcanabhavaṃ and who abides in self, whether he is in Himalayas or wherever he is. How he lives, how he exists. Some of the points, as you are all aware of, all these points which came from within were all jotted down while he was in India, in Diwali. So you can extend to your situation, or whatever possible state a state will be the state of a Jivanmukta would be. In that reference, he had jotted down few lines. Whether job or no job, whether settled or not settled, whether family or no family, and in the case of a guru, whether disciples are there or there are no disciples, whether relations are there or there are no relations, whether there is any communication with anyone in the world or no communication with anyone in the world. None of these things really matter. Anything happening in life or not happening has no relevance. The renunciation is not outside, apparently. It is within such a seer, and it is in totality, it is in abundance, it is wholesome renunciation. There is no search for any activity. There is no need for any engagement. The self is wholly as though engaged in itself, with no object outside the self or outside the God for it to engage itself. Everything is within. Total peace is within. Total bliss is within. Time, space, objects cannot touch that bliss within. And suppose all these points are mentioned here with reference to the one who has renounced everything from within, but still existing in the world as a householder. So, what this creation would mean to such a seer or such a Jivan Mukta? What is creation for him? Way back, maybe in 2012 or 13, he had visited US and he had visited a Muruga temple. He doesn't even remember which deity it was. He drove along. It was a long drive, and in the suburb area, he went to a temple in Charlotte. The temple may still be there, but does he have any association with the temple? Does the temple have anything to offer him eternally? Though the experience there would have been inexplicable, but then throughout the life, he is not mentioning about this inner experience while in the temple. He is telling about that temple per se. Any association with any object is there as long as the object touches your impressions, your thoughts, and as long as that object in your perception has something to offer you, whether good or bad. Needless to say, that temple has nothing to offer me, good or bad, throughout my life. It does not come and touch me even for a fraction of a minute in my life. So, in effect, though the temple may still be there and may continue for decades, it is not there for me because I don't perceive, I don't think about the temple. I have nothing to receive from the temple, nothing good which I may accept or nothing bad which I may reject. This is because I have no mind to think about whether I receive good or bad from the temple. To think if the temple exists, and if at all it exists, I have nothing to accept or reject from the temple. All that have been shared about that small temple in one place in US, in this world, just magnify it and instead of the temple, replace the temple with the world, with the creation. But this, whatever he is going to share, we have to be very clear. This has to be, if you run through this as he is sharing, if you run through this with your intellect and with your thought process, maybe you may not be able to be convinced 100%. You have to be very clear, at least at the sattvic intellect level, while he runs through this, the replacing the temple with the creation, you have to be clear that this he is sharing with respect to a realized person who abides in self, with the bhava that other than self there is nothing else. At least hold that thought, pure sattvic thought in mind, and then glide as he shares. Just as the temple, there is this creation there, as people say. It is there. He also sees it day in and day out. But does he have any association with that creation? Does the creation have anything to offer to him? Recall what he told with respect to the temple. Any association with any object is there as long as that object touches your impressions, your vasanas, your thoughts, and as long as the object in your perception has something to offer you, good or bad. I have no impressions about the creation, though moment to moment I may be existing, living in the creation. But since I don't have any impression of the creation, of what the creation gave me even the previous night, so obviously I have nothing. When I have no impression about the creation, then what good I will have to accept from the creation, or what bad I will have to reject in the creation? It does not come and touch me and play with my thoughts, with my emotions, with my feelings, ever. So, in effect, though creation may still be there, and it is there, and may continue there for centuries, exactly as the temple may continue, it is in effect not for me, the jiva who has to do the transactions with the world when I get up and walk out, but for me who is existing in God consciousness, who is existing as self. For me, it is not there because I don't perceive. I don't think about the creation, and I have nothing to receive from the creation. Because I have transcended my intellect to think whether I receive good or bad from the creation. To think if the creation exists or not. And how does, specifically in that state, how does this translate when it comes to people in the world who might have given him good or bad in the past? I have nothing to accept, or from those who might have really done bad for me. This line flowed with respect to his past job. So they are all not there for me. They don't exist for me, though they may be existing a few kilometers from here. In reality, same thing applies to family. Same thing applies to parents. Same thing applies to everyone. As per the subjective experience, on self pervading the creation like space, Akashavara. Can I say that like the space I pervade the creation? No. It is a step further, as he clarified in one of the talks. I am. In the transcendental state, I am not even aware of the space. If you say space is there, maybe space may be within, or even if it is not appropriate in that state to say space is within me, because that thought has come that space is within me. It is more appropriate, though through finite expression, to say that my existence as self is ananta, infinite. Afterwards, you take over. If you say, sir, this space is there, I would say, okay, maybe it may be within, I'm not aware. And within the space, if you say creation is there, I would say, oh, okay. Is it? Maybe. If you say creation is within this space, maybe it's within me, but I'm not aware. This is what Gaudapada gave to us as Ajatapada, non-origination of creation. So, at the climax, the renouncer within me has been renounced. The meditator within me has been given up. There is nothing to accept or nothing to reject. There is no creation perceived, even while my body may exist physically in this creation. Few lines from the commentary. This is the extension of where we landed ultimately, that though the creation is there physically, even I transact within the creation for my livelihood or my family or whatever responsibilities I have taken up. Still, for me, the self, pure consciousness, there is no creation. Echoing the same truth, Acharya writes, he refers to a verse from Mandukya Karika, which was given by Gaudapada. In the Advaita Prakarana, it says, Yatha na jayate kinchit jayamanam samantata, from which nothing is in reality born, though it appears to have manifested in endless forms. And further, another verse from the same Mandukya Karika, Gaudapada writes, न कश्चित् जायते जीव संभवोस्य न विद्यते एतत् तत् उत्तमं सत्यं yatra kinchin na jayate. No jiva, the egocentric, separative creature, is ever born. There does not exist any cause which can produce them as its effect. This is the highest truth where nothing is ever born. How would a day be spent in that state? With no thoughts of how to spend the day or what to do in a day when he gets up, with just things taking place moment to moment, having given up the creation that is insentient and has merged with the God who is creator. Go back to a couple of verses in the Ashtavakra Gita. First it said, and he gave us special additional talk to you, small satsang to you on how insentient the creation is, referring to the magic show. And then after a few verses it said, it referred to Ishvara, maybe the first or the second time in this treatise. It said that Ishvara is the creator and he exists in all. So here, after grasping the essence of this satsang, we say we can say Ishvara is Brahman. The creation is insentient. We have gone far beyond even that one expression that the creation is insentient. We have ruled out the creation. We have ruled out the creation when we are existing in aloneness of self. But when we go out and act in this world, then also while acting in the world, intensely acting in the world, then also you can live with the same akiñcanabhavaṃ. You can still exist in that state that there is no creation. How? Before the satsang or in the initial stages of sadhana, the solution given to handle this problem of creation is hold on to the Ishvara who is the creator of this creation, or see Ishvara everywhere in all in the creation. This is at the KG level in Advaita Vedanta. Not to undermine that state also. Even if we are able to exist thus in the whole life, that is sufficient. But in the path of self-inquiry and self-realization, yes, Brahman has created this creation somehow. And while I am in the creation, after all these teachings, after all the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana and all these, It is not the state where I would hold on to Brahman or try deliberate to see, feel, experience. Of course, Brahman cannot be seen. To experience Brahman everywhere, all those things are all, then it comes to deliberation. Then your mind comes to play. That verse means at this state, after having gone through the verses from the Mandukya Karika, that the creation was never born, while dealing in the creation, the solution after going through that Ashtavakra Gita verse is exist as Brahman. And suppose if we say Brahmanda Nayaka Baba, Baba not in that form but existing as the Brahmanda Nayaka, as the Ishvara, as the Brahman, formless. If he were to see the creation existing without name, without form, without attributes, far, far, far beyond this creation, if that Brahman has to experience the creation, how that experienceless experience would be? You exist exactly as this and deal with the world. Perform your dharma. May seem very difficult, may seem impossible, but the truth remains as truth. Satyam, consciousness, Brahman, or the one truth, which all the Upanishads echo, that possibly cannot come down to suit our level. One birth, two births, several births, we have no other options. Since we are born as human beings and we have to reach and merge with the Lord, we have no other option but to go in small steps or in large steps, depending upon our craving, depending upon the sincerity of our purpose of God realization, depending upon how truthfully we are endowed with the four qualifications sadhana chatushtaya, depending upon how much we are lit up with the fire of mokshatva, craving for realizing God within us, we have to go up and reach there and exist as thus. That we cannot pull down the truth, transcendental truth, to suit our state in sadhana. And in fact, we do that only day in and day out. Not to mention names at all, and mentioning names has no purpose at all, but those who have answered to 4 questions put up by him a week ago, they may realize that depending after having gone through the 4 answers themselves, and in the light of this satsang, they have to realize that we are in fact bringing down the transcendental truth to our relative plane of existence to suit our life, the way we are leading our life, with all our limitations, with all our body consciousness, with all our attachments, we are limiting the truth. What it means? To be more clear, that we are not able to reach up to that truth. At least in that prescribed 1 hour sadhana daily. We can suit ourselves, no problem. Let this birth go, what is there? How many births we would have spent like that? God waits. God waits endlessly. We can happily lead the life like this. Acharyas will come, acharyas will go. We can happily lead this life like this. Nobody punishes us. Like for the devotees or for the students or for those who had the privilege of sitting in the veranda in Prashanti, or the devotees who would be getting the first line in token, till the time the form was there was a possibility, there was little that fear that of course he is watching us. So in the evening when we go and sit for the bhajan, he can catch hold and he can say, hey, what you are doing in the daytime. So it was more out of that fear than the sincerity of the purpose that perhaps some kind of righteousness might have prevailed. He's talking about maybe some, not all. But after that form has left, we are scot-free. Similarly, when it comes to Acharya's teachings, once he leaves you, you are all totally free. No scolding, no monitoring, no yelling, nothing. Free. Let this birth go. Next birth, let us see. Or let this age go, let us see in the old age. Up to us. Should we take this route, or should we think that 30, 35 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years have gone already? Either we postpone to our old age when we catch the bed, or to the next birth, or we think the other way, that what we have wasted already and how much time we are left. People are leaving at 50 years, 52 years. How many days, how many days or years we will live? How much time we have? Whether we take this route or that route is totally given to us, totally depending on the limited freedom which God has given to us. How that is Purushartha. How we take it. It's up to us. So, to end the satsang, in that state, existing as self, when he walks in the streets, when he takes up activities, it will be not comparing with Swami, but the state, inner state in which that activities are taken up will be, just imagine, it will be like Swami exists as Brahman, Nirguna Nirakara. And when he comes down as Satya Sai and takes up activities, what would be the background, or what would be the essence, the backdrop or the essence with which Swami would be taking up activities as the Chancellor, or as Bhagavan, giving darshan, giving discourses, everything? What would be the essence? Exactly the same will be, not comparing with Swami at all, but in essence, the spirit, it will be the same when one has realized self, when you exist as Brahman, and then takes up activities in the world. And what is that essence? Love. In Kaivalya, it is bliss, or even beyond bliss, bliss without being aware of the state of bliss. And in the world, it is love. Without the love being directed towards one or two or few, it is love, existing as love. That doesn't know any partiality. There is no mind or time in that love. As much as your neighbor gets it, your office colleagues get it, your other outsiders, your the center people get it, the family also get it. There is no difference between anyone in that transcendental love while being in the creation. Now tell me, can this world touch or shake the tranquility, the bliss arising out of his abidance in self, having crossed the ocean of samsara, having transcended the creation? The satsang comes to an end, but let us end with a beautiful thought on how this final returning to home, the final homecoming, reaching God, merging with God, and existing as God in the path of love or the path of devotion. What expression would flow? He had dealt with this song many years before. It goes like this. लाए क्या थे जो लेके जाना है, नेक दिल ही तेरा खजाना है। सांझ होते ही पंछी आ जाए, अब तो घर जाओ, अपने घर जाओ। तेरे चरणों की धूल मिल जाए तो मैं तर जाऊं, श्याम तर जाऊं, हाँ मैं तर जाऊं, श्याम तर जाऊं. Final retracing. What did we bring which we have to take back with us? This is a state of total renunciation where we have nothing to accept, nothing to reject. A pure heart is the only treasure that we can own. As the sun sets, the sounds of the chirping of the birds is heard, reminding me that it is the time for you to return home. Let me return to my home, Kaivalya. Oh Lord, even if I get a dust of thy feet, I shall cross this ocean of samsara. Krishna, I shall cross the ocean of samsara. The bhakta keeps singing, and then when he has actually crossed the ocean of samsara, there is no one there to say, हाँ मैं तर जाऊं, श्याम तर जाऊं. No one to say that I shall cross the ocean of samsara, because after crossing the ocean of samsara, all that is there is pure silence. Teaching sessions may continue as per intuition, but finally he can say that after 12 years he gives up the role of guru. And he is not able to know, not able to understand that the one underlying essence behind the 12 years of teachings, which has been this ultimate joy, Brahma Ananda. If this has been the ultimate state and ultimate goal, and he cannot understand that why from the time we get up in the morning till the time we fall asleep, why the focus is not there intensely, fully on reaching that state while living in the world, reaching that state of ultimate pure joy or pure bliss within. beyond which nothing in the world has any propensity, any power to give anything to us. Maybe he failed, maybe he could not teach properly. What else can I say? Hari Om Tat Sat.